As soon as Tina's husband died, a whole series of trials collapsed on her family. Tina had to raise her daughter Kira on her own, delve into the family business, and solve all the problems that her husband, Alex, used to deal with. Not only was Alex's death a devastating blow for Tina, but her daughter's personal life began to bring trouble. Tina did not have time to raise her daughter, so the bright feelings of love became strong for Tina. Tina considers herself the happiest in the world. She would have a loving husband. They had been together since September when they, first-year students, were sent to help harvest the harvest. Hardworking and dexterous, Alex, who immediately relieved the girls from the suffering of carrying buckets with beets and potatoes, was liked by many then. However, he did not openly show signs of sympathy to anyone. Knowing from his father and grandfather the tricks of life in weather conditions, the boy spoiled everything with incredibly delicious food. Several times, with the permission of the mentor, he and several other students went fishing, and then the chefs of the local canteen prepared fragrant fish soup. Much later, when he and Tina became young specialists and even celebrated their 5-year wedding anniversary, he, in response to the news of the long-awaited pregnancy, admitted that he fell in love with her as soon as he saw her. "You know, my dear, when I was looking at the field then, the girls try not to overexert themselves, and you, so focused but not gloomy, you carefully fold this beetroot, even if you need to shake off the dirt a little. I worked with some kind of joy, and when I smiled at some joke I told, I realized that I didn't need anyone else." Tina went on maternity leave from the position of a design engineer, and Alex realized that his salary at the plant would clearly not be enough for the family. Together with his friends, he got involved in the business development. Of all the viable options, the companions chose to trade in equipment necessary for active recreation and sports. Enthusiastic young people were able to attract the attention of fishermen, athletes, as well as lovers of hiking and long trips to nature. One store was followed by another. The partners expanded the variety of goods, looked for dependable firms, and then Alex turned into Mr. Alex for his subordinates and opened a workshop for the production of goods for tourism. His own experience was useful to him, and although not many believed in his success, the business turned out to be profitable. The family didn't need anything. Beautiful daughter Kira was pleased with her father's success at school, and she went to music with pleasure. She did a little choreography for the soul. Tina, realizing that combining work, which took an hour and a half twice a day to commute to, meant little time in the status of a housewife, and then, with the full support of her husband, opened a shop with sewing goods. The family could not be counted as super rich, but material prosperity was stable. Wealth, even fortune, appeared suddenly. Once upon a time, Alex, rather from some instinct than after a rational miscalculation, bought several suburban plots for almost nothing, and then was able to successfully sell them. So he got another kind of earnings, and in addition to all his studies, he opened a real estate agency. Happy years flew by with the blink of an eye. From poor young professionals, Tina and Alex had turned into very wealthy people. We built a compact but cozy house, located so that the city is just around the corner. Now Kira's daughter had become a student. They bought her an apartment so that when she gets married, the family would not have any problems with housing. Everything had changed, but the feelings of Tina and Alex remained as tender as before, and love in general, as it seemed to them, has become even stronger. However, 2 years ago, Tina suddenly became a widow. Alex lost control on the icy road and died on the scene. Tina vaguely remembered that dark period. She tried to hold on for the sake of her daughter, who adored her father, and, in memory of her beloved husband, tried to preserve his trading and real estate business. She had to delve into a huge number of details and nuances, but such a full load helped to distract her to such an extent that she simply did not have the strength to mourn her beloved. She sometimes had the thought that now she had to pay for years of happiness. Tina sometimes moped, and during such periods did not even go outside the precinct. Fortunately, it is possible to keep an eye on the state of the business remotely, and there is always work on Earth. So, Tina worked in the garden, then in the greenhouse, finding at least some comfort in physical activities. The only people she has always had, of course, daughter Kira, Mary, her husband's younger sister, and her family. The sister-in-law was almost 17 years younger, but they communicated perfectly, having long become not only friends, but also remarkably close. During one of the meetings, when Mary decided to give herself a break from household chores and came to her brother's widow, Tina confessed to her, "You know, Mary, life probably spoiled me for a reason up to the age of 46. Most likely it was not a gift of fate, but her oversight. Now she decided to put up a severe bill for everything. Sometimes it's a sinful thing to think that I don't want anything else. That's just Kira holding, but you, I can't leave you." Don't think like that, Tina. We all feel bad without Alex, but he would definitely be unhappy with your thoughts. Moreover, Kira needs you now, the wrong one, more than ever. She has become quite an adult with us, a bride. Yesterday, I saw her with a guy in a cafe. Her eyes were shining, her face was shining, a real beauty. So, my dear, it is probably necessary for you and me to prepare for a new joy. Mary's words hit Tina in the heart. How did she not notice any changes in her daughter? And after all, as Tina understood with annoyance now, she, as a mother, had to ask for a long time why her daughter suddenly began to return home much later. Yes, Mary, it looks like I'm a worthless mom. In fact, Kira also began to dress up longer before leaving the house. A week ago, I asked for my favorite perfume. It's awkward because she didn't come for perfume. She probably wanted to talk to me. And I waved my hand towards the dressing table saying, "Take what you want and don't bother me." Don't blame yourself, Tina. I think Kira doesn't take offense at you. She's a smart girl here. It's a pity that she is late. We would have asked her about this guy together with you. Well, I have to run. It's a pity, you know. Let's meet on Friday at 7. Take your men and come to us for the whole weekend. We, like Alex, left and we're not going to barbecue with a bathhouse. Well done, Tina. Great idea. I will warn my sons and my husband not to plan anything. We'll stay together and maybe Kira will invite her beau. They would have arranged a visit for him. Tina would have been happy to talk longer, but a taxi had already arrived for Mary, and she hurried back to her playful 3-year-old twin sons, whom she left had her husband to look after. Tina, handing her sister-in-law souvenirs for the boys, sat down to think about the upcoming conversation with her daughter. Tina, of course, realized that her wonderful daughter had grown up a long time ago. There is nothing unnatural in the appearance of Kira's beau, because when else to fall in love than at the age of 20? Once she and Alex were worried that their beautiful schoolgirl daughter would get her head turned by some classmate, but the girl somehow took the issue of admission to an interesting university very seriously. While many of her peers were already starting to meet guys in an adult way, Kira was gnawing on the granite of science, and she also helped Tina with the choice of fabrics and unusual accessories. And I must say, most often the daughter's extraordinary ideas turned out to be successful. Alex always admired Kira's diligence, and in conversations with his wife noted, "Well done, Kira," because she knew that he would have paid for her studies at any institute, and she herself decided to make her way. Memories of her husband again touched Tina's emotional wound, and she, immersed in unhappy thoughts, did not even notice how the front door slammed. Tina broke her concentration when Kira entered the kitchen, who asked in an excited voice, "Mom, why are you sitting in the dark? Is everything okay?" Tina started up, and despite the protests of her daughter, who said that she would warm up the food, she began to set the table. Tina watched with emotion as the hungry girl ate her dinner with an appetite and restrained herself with all her might not to ask Kira who she was dating. At the table, Tina asked, "I invited Mary and the guys to us for the weekend. Let's come up with something interesting and delicious besides the wings." Tina hoped that her daughter would take the opportunity to talk about her boyfriend, and the idea came true. Kira's cheeks turned slightly red, and she confessed, "Mom, I agreed to go on a date with a guy on Saturday. We met him at Catherine's when she was celebrating her driver's license." Tina smiled encouragingly, but did not ask anything, so as not to scare off the moment of frankness, and Kira continued, "His name is Stephen Kirsten. He is a cousin of the guy Bethany, so don't frown at Mommy. I've made all the inquiries. A good guy. He works. He has his own furniture store. More precisely, as Bethany said, the store belongs to her parents, according to the documents, but they entrusted it to Stephen 6 months ago. He is 30 years old, was married, but they broke up. He has no children. Did I find out all the necessary information? Tina felt pride and a certain challenge in her daughter's voice, but she bit her tongue in time, deciding not to quarrel and not to teach her grown-up blood. And with the most joyful intonation praised, just a good girl. If you want, you can invite Stephen to dinner with us on Saturday, but of course I won't say a word of reproach to you if you prefer a date. Mommy, you're just lovely. I'll probably invite Stephen, but I'm afraid he'll think I'm pushing him to propose. He seems to be making hints to me, saying that he has never met such a girl and would like to spend his whole life next to me. No, he'll definitely think I'm rushing him, so most likely I'll just quickly run off on a date. Then I'll come home to chat with Mary and tinker with the boys. I hope you'll persuade them to stay overnight, right? Tina smiled. Of course, with an overnight stay. But if you don't want to push Stephen to a decisive act, then probably you really shouldn't invite him. Wait, take a closer look at him. There's no hurry. So far, can you at least show me his picture? They probably took selfies. Of course now. Kira sat down next to her mother on the sofa and handed her smartphone. Tina flipped through the photos and realized that she did not like her daughter's boyfriend at all. No, outwardly he looked quite neat, even over the top. In one of the pictures, Tina even noticed that the man's nails were polished. But the way he looked at Kira did not suit her categorically. The negative emotions were subconscious, but Tina was simply convinced that Stephen was not in love with her daughter at all. In the morning, after Kira rushed off to study, Tina called her sister-in-law and briefly recounted the conversation with her daughter. Tina tried to explain her doubts. You know, Mary, he seems to be smiling in the pictures, but his eyes are empty. Or there was a frame where Kira does not cling, and he looks at her with such a malicious smile of a winner, a nasty type. Although, according to my daughter, he is very courteous, so I invited him to visit. Together, we will be able to ask him about everything and consider what kind of bird he is. No, Mary, Kira's right. He can also go all in, make an offer in front of everyone. It seems like so that he could do it flawlessly. Well, try to find out more about him. After discussing the problem a little more, the relatives said goodbye. Tina did not stop thinking about her daughter's fate, and the woman had an idea. She found out the address of Stephen's furniture store and ordered a taxi to its location. While waiting for the car, Tina dressed up in the clothes in which she worked in the garden, but did not have time to wash and went to the salon in the form of just a lady with low income. The pretty saleswoman Helga, who would have been more suited to the profession of a model, tried to restrain herself at the sight of a not too presentable visitor, but she could not completely hide her disappointment. Tina walked around the salon and then asked the girl, "Excuse me, Helga, can you get some kind of discount on this bedroom furniture?" The beauty's face became haughty as she said, "I'm sorry, but we don't have discounts. These are the rules of our store." Tina pretended not to notice the contempt and asked, "If possible, arrange a meeting with the owner for me. I will personally ask for a discount." After some bickering, Helga stepped aside. The girl, as Tina guessed, called Stephen's reception. And a few minutes later she informed Tina, "Go straight down the hall, then turn right. There will be a reception room. Mr. Kirsten is busy right now. Wait to get through, but I'll tell you right away, it's unlikely you'll get a discount. It's better to go to another store. We have a salon of Italian furniture, and almost all models are exclusive." Tina thanked the girl and went to the reception room, which turned out to be empty. The door to the store owner's office was ajar, but a few minutes later, a slightly disheveled secretary of no less model type than the seller came out. "Hello," Tina said politely. "Can I see Mr. Kirsten about the discount?" "Oh, I don't even know." The girl turned on her heels and looked into the office from which she had just left and asked, "There is a visitor here about a discount. Let her come to you." A loud baritone voice replied, "Not now, baby. You know, I need to come to my senses and make the coffee stronger. Tell them to wait." It became quite obvious to Tina that Kira's boyfriend had just been having fun right at the workplace, but she still decided to look at Stephen to get an idea of how he behaves with people. She had to wait for almost an hour, during which the secretary did not bother to offer her either tea or even water. Communication with Stephen also did not work out. As soon as the secretary, apparently having read the message from the boss on the computer, allowed Tina to go to the director, he barely heard the request for a discount, rudely interrupted the woman. I don't do handouts. Go to the market somewhere. There's plywood furniture and just for a purse like yours. Tina returned home in an unbelievably bad mood. She really didn't like the fact that when dating Tina, Stephen is not at all shy about maintaining a relationship with his secretary. In addition, the manner of his conversation with potential buyers clearly indicated that the business was unlikely to last long. By connecting friends, Tina found out that the man had brought the furniture store to the brink of ruin in 6 months, and besides, he had large debts after the closure of his business. However, recently he began to ask creditors for an exceedingly small delay, explaining that he had seduced a rich girl. Very soon he would have corrected his financial situation and would return everything with interest. Tina tried to explain to Kira what Stephen was like, and had to persuade the girl to bring him to a family evening on Saturday. Daughter, I wish you only the best, so invite this person, and you will see his true character. The spectacle really turned out to be enchanting. Stephen, seeing the elegant Tina, bowed and even stretched out his hand to her, and then, listening to the voice, recognized the visitor who asked for a discount. Tina invited him and said, Well, Mr. Kirsten, come in and look at my plywood furniture. Losing his composure, the unlucky boyfriend left the store, almost sprawling on a flower bed. Even Kira couldn't help but smile as she watched Stephen flee. Tina was glad that she was able to save her from a big mistake, and Kira would definitely meet a decent man who would love her.